Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new week, new edition of Houston Sports Weekly, our weekly podcast. You can catch it every week on KPRC2 Plus and, of course, click2houston.com. Hi, everybody. Randy McElvoy with you. Hope everybody's having a great week and get ready for the weekend. We got a lot to talk about on the podcast this week. A lot of sound we're coming from now Texans training camp. We're going to dive into that. Segment 2, Astros Talk, and Ari Alexander will handle segment 2 on the broadcast. Hey, as we come to you now, this is day 8. If you're listening or watching here on a Friday, day 8 of Texas training camp. Next Thursday, first preseason game, they'll be in Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots, and then right back here to continue camp. And in that following week, they'll welcome in the Miami Dolphins for a couple of days of joint workouts ahead of their preseason game number 2. Texans camp, you can't read too much into these workouts. At least I don't. Some guys look good and bad every single day, to be honest with you. Until they face somebody else, that's all I care about. And in this case, the Patriots, and then those joint workouts with the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to these position battles as well. But, hey, let's start it off with John Mechie III. He was the big story out there at camp on Thursday, coming back from a leukemia diagnosis from last summer. What a journey back for the former second-round pick in 2022 out of Alabama. He battled leukemia. He won the battle against leukemia. He's been cleared for camp. He's having a great camp just over a week into it right now. He spoke Thursday at Texans camp. Here's some of that conversation.
What's it feel like to be back on the field and what you love?
This entire year has been eventful for sure. Has its ups and downs, but being back on the field feels great. It's been a long way coming, but it definitely feels like a blessing, and it's something you're grateful for every day.
John, what was the most challenging part of the journey you went through?
The most challenging part, I think there are a lot of challenging things. It challenges you spiritually, mentally, physically, of course. I think the most challenging part was kind of just dealing with it with my family, being in a different country for the most part. They would come down, but most of my loved ones were in a different country. So I think that was probably the most challenging part.
Was there ever a point where you thought you might not play football again?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say no. I feel like at the beginning stages, of course, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the future has in store for you. You, of course, hope that you can overcome it and play football. But I would probably say the beginning stages. There might have been some doubt, but I've had a strong faith. I had a strong faith then, and I have a strong faith now. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Not just my family, my team here, my teammates here, my coaches here, my old college coaches, Coach Saban and all of them, all the staff, all the old players, they all reached out and they were always with me every step of the way. So although my family wasn't here, I had a huge support system from this team and my college team. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, that's nothing new to me, and a lot of the guys that came from Bama or some of these SEC schools, we kind of had that mentality. So coming here, that isn't really anything different. And I think working with Sting and the guys, it's just working on our crafts, talking about things that we got each other on in practice, how we can make each other better, how we can just help push both of our games forward. So I think that's what that's a lot about. Just gratitude. I think that's pretty much what the whole moment was like, just gratitude. I was really grateful that day that I was just able to come out here and start playing the game I love again, worry-free. Just able to play ball, not have to worry about much, but just playing ball. So I was really grateful that day. Majority of the people that had a huge impact on me were people that I met in MD Anderson during that time, whether it was patients, the janitorial staff, the nurses that were there with me every night, and my doctors, but mainly patients. I think there were definitely a countless number of people that come to mind that really impacted me and gave me a lot. Yeah, I feel 110% actually. Over the year, I feel better than I did. I feel better now than I ever did in college, and I feel better than I was when I got before I got diagnosed. So I feel 110% for sure.
So what was that moment like, out there with Anderson when you get ready in the last treatment to ring that bell? What was that got to that moment? What was it like for you, and now where you are now?
That moment was special. It seemed to be more special for the people around me, but it was extremely special for me just because, when you get diagnosed and you're in the hospital, you don't really have an end clock. The best you can really do is just take it day by day and go stack brick by brick. So you're never really looking too far down the head of the road when you're there. Other patients and I, we were just worried about winning our fight every day, like day by day. And when it got to the end, you kind of look up and you're like, damn, we accumulated a lot of treatments and a lot of days. And that's kind of when you start thinking about it. But I think going into that day was kind of the same thing for me. I was just winning the next day.
I'm not sure getting back is a mental hurdle in itself. At what point did you feel like you were kind of worry free, or if you haven't, got to that point, sorry, but at what point did you feel like you were comfortable?
I always feel like I'm comfortable. I feel like I beat the toughest battle, and now living and being me is kind of just to be free and be confident in myself and my body of work and who I am. So I don't think, of course there's a learning curve of learning the plays, game with the team, chemistry and all of that, but as far as comfort in myself and my game, I have that completely.
You played with a couple more guys. You played with the number 1 and number 2 overall selection in this past draft. What are the similarities you see with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud?
They're both great quarterbacks, I would say. I guess if you want to say similarities, they're both great quarterbacks. Aside from that, they're two individual people. So there's a lot of differences there as well because they have completely different personalities and stuff like that. But as far as their ability to play ball, they're both great at it.
Before you got diagnosed, were you sick at all? Did you have any symptoms, or was this a complete surprise?
Yeah, there was, which is why I always encourage people to get checked up and do all those things the hospital requires. I'll always be for that. I probably thought I had a cold. Or something for like a week or two, headaches and stuff like that. There were a couple symptoms before. It's not like I woke up one day and it caught me out the blue. But yeah, leading up to it, I was definitely starting to feel a little ill.
Last two, Cole and DJ.
Johnny, you and everyone else were talking about with the patients were going through the same battle, but you come from different lifestyles, different journeys. What was the biggest lesson you took away about going through this treatment process with everyone who has just a completely different story from you?
Yeah, the biggest thing I took away was just kind of to show up and fight, right? Like we kind of understand and we kind of take for granted life and everything we have to do or everything we get to do during a day. But then when it's taken away from you, whether you're young or old in the hospital, you kind of realize that people see clearly what's important to them and who's important to them, right? Their family, their life, regardless of what they were complaining about or what stresses you have, you realize that the biggest gift you got is like your breath and your heartbeat. So the biggest thing I took away was that, like, regardless of age, size, where you came from, everybody had to wake up and fight every day. So just keeping that and keeping that gratitude in the forefront of your mind for me will always be a good thing.
DJ, you mentioned initially you didn't know if you'd be able to make it back. Were there any moments where you thought, this situation could have been fatal, and how did you get through that process mentally?
Yeah, for sure. I guess an answer to tie into that is faith, right? Definitely, especially for my kind APO, acute promyelocytic leukemia, which is one of the most curable forms of cancer, but very tough at the beginning. So I was blessed and very grateful to have one of the most curable forms of cancer. As y'all see, like, I didn't lose my hair and a lot of stuff like that. So I was very grateful and very blessed for that. But at the very beginning of it, when you're diagnosed, is a very tough part. It's the most critical part. And I think all of that was just my faith. That you can only rely on your faith in those situations, and in situations when you're you're forced to be faced with your own mortality. You see what it is you really believe in and who it is you really believe in. So my faith in God is really what kept me comfortable and in a belief that this was all for a greater purpose and a bigger reason.
All right, great conversation there at the podium from John Mechie III, Thursday after practice. Again, feel-good story, no doubt, from training camp so far. Also had the chance to catch up with right tackle Titus Howard yesterday on Thursday as well. Coming off that, got the contract recently, one of the best right tackles in all of football. He says he's part of a great offensive line. On the other end, left tackle, you got Laramie Tunsil. This is a good group up front, and they need that O-line to deliver big time and protect for what will likely be C.J. Stroud, the starting quarterback. Here's some of the conversation I had with Titus Howard.
All right, here at Texas training camp with the big fella here, the right tackle, Titus Howard. I want to ask, I ask some players all this question. This heat, how much weight do you lose on a given workout?
I think for guys it range anywhere from 4 to 5 pounds. Then you got guys that will lose 10 to 12 pounds on practice.
Wow.
I'm more in that 5 pound, 6 pound. I'm not like a heavy sweater, but I sweat a lot. But I'm more of a salty sweater, so I got to get, the right stuff back in me. But guys, I've seen guys like Charlie Haight lose like 13, 14 pounds in one practice.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So y'all really have to, whatever the work you're putting on out here, the training staff's got to have it ready to get, when you get back in that building, you got to replenish.
They do a great job. Ladd, Roland, all they do a good job of, keeping us hydrated, all the stuff we need for our body to recover. Yeah. Because like I said, it's nothing like this. I've practiced in a lot of different states. There's nothing like this Texas heat, man. It's different.
I was going to ask you, but is this particular stretch we're in right now, it's kind of ramping up a little bit?
It's ramping up, man. It was, like today, it was hot. It was hot today, But it's a grind, man. I feel like mentally it builds you, for the season. Like if you can go out here and practice this every day, mentally it's frustrated. It transitions and translate like we on the field, it's fourth down, you're tired. We need a play. We need a first down. So mentally, you already there because you've been out here practicing this heat every day at training camp.
A few more questions. Just in general, it's a little over a weekend of camp. How's this O-line coming together right now with the work you guys are putting in?
We're gelling pretty good. We got a lot of good vets on the O-line. Guys putting in the work, man. We got the young guys coming in and learning from us, and they stepping up. Like today, Scott got hurt. Juice came in, he stepped up, he's the quarterback of the offensive line. He's getting us right on everywhere we need to be. It was real motivating to see him come in and step up the way he did today.
Camaraderie seems like it's out there. Everybody's kind of, you're pulling for one another, you're pushing one another. That's kind of what the camp's all about, right?
Yes, sir, it is. We got, one of the best offensive line in the league, and, we're so cool off the field, it makes it easy for us on the field.
Lastly, the D'Amico impact and just the way he's running things out here, and you guys are feeding off his energy. How cool has that been so far?
It's cool because D'Amico's been here. He's been a Texan. He knows what it is to go through this training camp. He knows what it is to be a successful player in this league. So one of the things I like about him is that when he talks, you listen. You want to lock in and hear what he's saying. And I think all the guys on the team realize that, and we buying in because he's been here, he's done it at a high level, and we just, want to play for him and be the best team we possibly can for the fans, to win some games this year.
Good to catch up, brother. Appreciate it. Titus Howard, right tackle, Texans.
All right, great chat there with Titus Howard. Man, that guy is big, up close, but a generally nice guy and a heck of a football player, right tackle for the Houston Texans. All right, we're going to take a break on Houston Sports Weekly. When we come back, we're going to talk some Astros. Ari Alexander takes over segment 2 of Houston Sports Weekly when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Houston Sports Weekly. I am Ari Alexander. In segment 2, we're going to be talking about the Astros, the trade deadline that passed, how the Astros did. Obviously, if you're watching this, you know that Justin Verlander is on the Astros, and we'll have a section of the press conference that Verlander gave this week in New York. He is set to pitch this weekend for the Astros against the New York Yankees, and a big return and happy returns for Justin Verlander. So first of all, let's talk about the deadline. The Astros made 2 major moves. The first one, a trade for Kendall Graveman, the former Astro reliever. They traded for him in 2021 from the Mariners. He was a big part of that 2021 AL championship team that made the World Series against the Braves. He did not re-sign with the Astros in free agency in 2022. Perfectly understandable on all sides. He got his money. The Astros had other ways to build the bullpen. They also got Rafael Montero in that trade, and he was excellent in 2022. Astros won the World Series. This season, they just don't have quite as many bullpen arms who are as reliable, meaning they've used the same 4 guys in high leverage. Ryan Presley, Brian Abreu, Phil Maton, Hector Neris. And they are overworked. Neris has been excellent, but he's had a couple outings now where not as dominant as he was. Maton has been struggling for a couple weeks after being really good for the first couple months of the season. Presley is mostly excellent. Presley's kind of at his usual, right? Like he's great. 8 or 9 straight games. He'll have the one bad blow-up game or a bad week, and then he's back to being great. So he is what he is. And then Brian Abreu is the same thing as Presley, where he'll go 6, 7 straight games being really good, then he'll have a bad outing. And then, but for the most part, these guys, I think you give them the proper rest. You added the bullpen depth with Kendall Graveman. The Astros largely should have one of the better bullpens in baseball. The starting rotation has been obviously a big point of contention for the Astros throughout much of the season. Injuries. They had 6 guys ready to go before the season started. Lance McCullers Jr. has missed the whole season. Luis Garcia is out for the season. Jose Urquidy has missed a long time. Urquidy is set to be back, and that puts the Astros at a rotation of some of the usual guys, right? Framber Valdez is the ace. Christian Javier has been the 2, but Javier has struggled largely lately. Then you have J.P. France in that rotation. He's been really good. Then you have Jose Urquidy and Hunter Brown, the rookie, and then now you add Justin Verlander to the mix. Going back to the Mets, who, as most of y'all know, I'm a Mets fan. I've kind of given up on it at least 6 weeks ago. They've been cooked. So what they've done is they signed all these high-dollar free agents, guys like Verlander, guys like Max Scherzer, knowing that they will not be competing for the NL East or even a wild card spot this year. What they've done is sold off all their expensive players, but they're picking up a lot of the money on those deals to make sure that they get better prospects in trades. So the Mets started the sell-off, getting rid of David Robertson to the Marlins, who has been their closer this year with Edwin Diaz being hurt. And then they got back a couple of prospects and paid some of his salary. Then they sent Max Scherzer to the Rangers, picking up most of his salary, and got back Luis Angel Acuna Jr., Ronald Acuna, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s brother, who's considered to be a really good prospect. And then they did the same thing with the Astros, where they sent Justin Verlander, who's made, 16 starts for the Mets total. Going to be a great immaculate grid guy someday. They sent him back to the Mets, or they sent him back to the Astros. They picked up $54 million of the 93 or whatever that he's supposed to be paid over the next 2 years, plus his vesting option in 2025. And then they got back 2 of the Astros' top prospects: Ryan Clifford, the outfielder, who is an A+ ball in high A, and Drew Gilbert, who's generally considered to be the Astros' number 1 prospect in AA, now playing for the Binghamton Rumble Ponies in the Mets system. But the Astros get Justin Verlander back, which is huge. So let's see what Verlander had to say in his news conference in New York.
Yeah, I think after I had some conversations with Billy and Steve about next season and their plans, I think entertaining the idea of a trade and waiving my no trade clause, I think Houston was the number 1 choice for me. Just knowing these guys so well and having a chance to win, the familiarity, and had such a great time here. So that was number 1 choice.
Okay, Chandler.
Justin, how much did your relationship with Jim Crane kind of influence this and your desire and your want to come back?
A lot. I think it's when you're gathering the information, and that's all you can do as a player, right? In this situation with the no trade clause, is I try not to get too far ahead of myself. I try to gather as much information as possible and then make an educated decision. Everything goes into that bucket when you're gathering information. My relationship with Jim, my relationship with my teammates, the coaching staff, familiarity with Houston and the fan base and spring training location. All of it is what really went into my thought process leading up to this.
Okay, Matt Young, then we'll open it up to questions after that.
Usually your first day with a new team, it takes some getting used to. It looked like you were just back at home in the clubhouse. Did it feel any different for you at all?
It's exciting, seeing all the guys again. And, obviously once the trade went through, talked to a bunch of the guys on the phone and text message, and just, it feels a little weird because it hasn't been that long. So it feels like, you don't miss a beat and you're right back in the locker room. But on the other hand, there's this whole segment that happened. Here I am, still staying in my apartment in New York. It's a really odd feeling. Hard to explain.
Okay, over here, and then David, right here.
Justin, did the Mets come to you about any other teams?
I kind of knew as much as you guys did, to be honest. I think, when like I said, after speaking with Steve and Billy, I really kind of opened it up. and said, if this is the direction that you think is best for the organization, I'm not on a long-term deal. Things are different. If I was on a long-term deal, I've heard some of the comments like Francisco was making about, being committed to winning. If the vision super short-term wasn't, we're going to try to win a championship, and not that they're not trying to win, but not going to take the same tactic next year, then I would like the opportunity to go to a team that was going to fight for a championship this year and next. And clearly with the trading of Robertson and Max, the picture for this year and next year was kind of shifting quickly. So I didn't have to veto anything, and I didn't have them come to me and say this team or that team. I just saw a lot of the same stuff that you guys saw with an interest, and I did speak to Billy, and he was telling me who was reaching out and who did have interest, and that aligned with how the media was reporting things. I don't know how you guys get your information, but you got it.
And how would you just kind of sum up the you guys?
Yeah.
The Mets are thought to be a World Series contender, and then they end up selling off. How would you just describe just the turn of events?
Good question. I haven't really come to terms with it. It's I don't think anybody saw this coming. You commit to a team, and you commit to trying to win a championship there, and that's your vision, right? You're all in, and then a few months later, you're back with the team you were with the last season, and I feel like I was just really starting to get settled in the city, in my apartment, and my family was really getting used to things here. You start building a life off the field. You try to build a life in the city that you're in, and you start getting comfortable, and you make friends, and so that part is really difficult. It's a lot on the family. I think when you're looking at things there's like two different lenses. There's the baseball lens and there's the family lens, right? And even though we have a lot of familiarity in Houston and know the city and the fans and everything, it's we don't have a place there anymore, and it's just a lot on the family to get up and move in the middle of the season. And through the baseball lens, it's super exciting, to join my friends again and a team that's fighting for a championship and in a really intense run coming down the stretch. I mean, that's what you play a game for. And when I sit down and talk with my wife about things, that's why we're here. And you play this game to win and win championships. So ultimately, that's what's the decision maker and the factor that goes into it. But once the decision's made and the dust settles, it's a lot. It's a lot on the family, a lot of moving pieces now, and a lot of logistics that you have to figure out. And you just make it work.
Verlander happy to be back, but you can see that, family is a big part of what matters to him. The guy's 40. The guy, doesn't want to relocate a whole bunch. I guess he got rid of his place in Houston. We'll have to find a new place now. He's been here for a long time, left briefly, now back. But he's in Houston for the rest of 2023, which sets up, I think, the Astros playoff rotation really good as long as Javier can sort of get fixed. I mean, Framber Valdez just threw a no-hitter. Justin Verlander is your number 2 starter. I know he's ace, whatever. To me, he is the number 2 starter for the Astros. Framber Valdez has really separated himself. And then you have Christian Javier as a 3. And then for playoff starts in that 4 spot, you are now battling between J.P. France, who has a sub-3 ERA, Hunter Brown, who has the best stuff of the bunch, and Jose Urquidy, who has a decent amount of playoff experience and a really good playoff start, a World Series start in 2019. So I think the Astros have fixed their depth. No more Ronel Blanco, no more Brandon Bielak. You can now hold out hope that your guys, the 6 that you have now, can cover most of the innings for the Astros. And then maybe you can bring along Spencer Arrighetti, the top pitching prospect for Houston, and use him in a spot start down the line. The Astros are now fully healthy except for Michael Brantley, and the lineup pretty much ready to go. The only thing I think that they can add is to the bench. I know that Dana Brown has mentioned a bunch of times they were engaged on left-handed hitters. The teams they were talking to wanted guys in the Major League roster. I would imagine Chas McCormick's name came up. Chas McCormick has been incredible. He should have won AL Player of the Month. He's not going anywhere. He's been one of the better hitters in all of baseball and has played an excellent center field. So they didn't want to trade any guys in the Major League roster, which makes perfect sense. Two guys that I want to bring up whose names are out there. You want a left-handed hitter? Yes, these guys haven't had a good year, but they are coming cheap. Corey Dickerson. He was with the Nationals all year. I heard from a league source this week as the trade deadline was coming that they would trade him for, quote, literally anything, and then they released him. So that info was good. So he's available. Corey Dickerson's available for a minor league contract. You can get him for nothing and then pay him league minimum throughout the rest of the year. Again, it's just all based on the scouting of what the Astros see in him. Another name I want to bring up, Willie Calhoun. He'd been on the Yankees. He was granted release. Same thing. He's not having a good year. He's had an underwhelming career. He's a guy that was at one point a top prospect, but he's hitting just under 100 OPS plus, meaning he's been just slightly below average. Maybe the Astros can fix him. Maybe the Astros can use Corey Dickerson. Both these guys have some pop. Both these guys are having bad years, but why not take a shot? Or bring up John Singleton, crushing it in AAA right now. Put J.J. Matijevic back on the 40-man roster. Bring up Matijevic. You gave a shot to Bly Madris. It didn't quite work out. Give Singleton a shot. Give Matijevic a shot. Take a look at Corey Dickerson. Take a look at Willie Calhoun. I think there are some options. They're obviously not Cody Bellinger. They're not amazing options, but there's something. So this has been Houston Sports Weekly. The Astros continue to fight for the AL West, and now they got Justin Verlander in tow. So thanks a lot for watching, listening on KPRC2 Plus and click2Houston.com.